In this episode, we are absolutely spoilt for choice, hunting here at the Norwich Vintage and Modern Toy Fair.
Game pickups! Building the game room! Rush tricks! Live game hunting!
Hello again folks, welcome to a very special episode. That's because today we are doing something slightly different here on the channel. Hunting for retro and modern toys at the Norwich Vintage and Modern Toy Fair. This comes around in Norwich about every 3 months, and I always try and go if I'm available. As if you didn't know, as well as collecting video games, I'm a big fan of collecting both retro and modern toys. And toy markets like this one are some of the best places to find some of the best pieces for your collection. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and please subscribe, as I put new videos out every Saturday night at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week like this one, and I really want you folks along for the ride. And remember, it's not just game hunting and game collecting here on the channel, we also do periodical toy hunts. Here we go then, the 29th annual Norwich Vintage and Modern Toy Fair. And we actually came a lot later in the day this time. So the Toy Fair opened at 9:30 with early bird entry, but we came around midday, which meant we also got free entry. Now we may have missed some of the Holy Grail items, which would have been sold earlier in the day, but it was a lot quieter. And we just wanted a more chilled day. There was 3 or 4 of us hunting together today, both my wife and some good friends, and we were in for a much quieter hunt coming this late in the day. And also free entry is a bit of a bonus, but straight away I'm still seeing some really cool things here. So first off, we have these TMNT movie figures. Now these were all complete with their accessories, which is getting harder and harder to find. I don't know what it is about these, but I love these kind of vintage 90s flip top watches. It just seemed any TV show or movie franchise had its own watch, and I just love the artwork on these. Now if you are looking for a bargain at the toy fair, bins like this are some of the best places to find some value figures, and more often than not they have like a 3 for £10 or even 3 for £5 on loose figures like this. And this is what I love about hunting in bins like this, is just getting in and digging. There was loads of WWF Hasbro figures in here, a smattering of TMNT figures, even some Jurassic Park figures, all at great prices. Now this will come as no surprise to anyone who's watched the channel for any amount of time, but I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and of course when I'm at toy fairs like this is one of the main lines of figures I will be looking for, especially 80s, early 90s Playmates figures, as these were the toys of my childhood. But I'm very picky when it comes to these, both in price and also in condition. But a close second to TMNT, probably my second favourite toy line, will always be the original 1993 Kenner Jurassic Park toys. This was the other toy of my childhood, and honestly, men sometimes never go out of their love of dinosaurs. This was cool to see, these Super Mario movie figures. Definitely getting rarer to see these. Next up, this was super cool and super tempting. This Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles NECA 4-pack. Now, NECA is one of my favourite toy manufacturers, and the TMNT line is, of course, one of my favourites. But sadly today, I did pass on this one for now. Moving on, and this next table definitely had a theme. It was subtle, but you may be able to tell even this person was a massive fan of SpongeBob SquarePants, always trying to sell off their entire collection. It's very strange to see this many things from one franchise in one place. Something I did spy hiding here was these Batman animated series figures. I really like these, and definitely a toy line I may be interested in collecting for the future. Now, as well as toys, video games and many other things, I also have a fairly large selection of board games in my collection, and this one was quite tempting, this Alien board game, once again from Kenner, but to be honest, on inspection this did look a little bit boring. As my collection goes, I'm slowly getting more and more picky with my board game pickups. As a Pokemon fan, this was cool to see. Now you may just think these are some standard energy cards, but look a little bit closer and they were actually earrings. Now I think every year it's starting to get more and more common to see more and more Pokemon cards at toy fairs like this one, and this one was tempting. It's not very often I will pick up Pokemon singles, but something that has intrigued me recently is graded cards, and there was a lot of graded cards and a lot of loose cards here today, because honestly it's been a lifelong dream of mine to own a Charizard. Sticking with Pokemon as well as cards, there was a lot of Pokemon toys here. Now these are more recent figures that are only been released in the past few years, but these are still super cool. And you may notice when you watch this video, I do have a lot of Pokemon displayed behind me in the games room, and these figures would really look nice there, but I just couldn't decide on any specific figure this time. My friend did pick up a couple of these larger Pokemon, and I must admit that Gyarados does look super cool. As I said, I have been tempted to pick up some graded Pokemon cards, as when it comes to grading, I think Pokemon cards are one of the best things you can get graded. Unlike games, you can still kind of play with these or just enjoy being able to look at every single feature of them. It's not like a video game where you need to open it up, read the instructions, look at the cartridge. So I think graded Pokemon cards are a really cool idea. Speaking of cool, check out this Lego. Every time they release a new Jurassic Park or Jurassic World Lego, I get closer and closer to picking it up. But so far, thankfully, I've managed to resist collecting any more Lego. This store was owned by Second Chance Treasures, a local seller who has been smashing it recently, and not just toy markets, but gaming markets and even the local car boots. They always have an amazing selection of items for sale and always something new, like this incredible mask figure. But this is something I saw last year at Norwich Gaming Market and knew eventually I had to have for the collection. This brand new and sealed WWE PlayStation 2 head-to-head controller. This is absolutely incredible and so happy to add it to the collection. Next up is another local seller who have a store in Kings Lynn Retro, and they started off by giving me a gift which is very much appreciated. This incredible Company of Heroes 2 Steelbook, and they again had an incredible selection of items for sale today, including some WWF Hasbro figures. Now, I'm quite picky with these when it comes to price and condition, as of course a lot of these would have been played with very hard, because literally that's what they were for, slamming around. But these are quite cool to see, these WCW Galoop figures, something you really don't see very often. Now, earlier in the day, we saw some Jurassic Park figures from the original 1993 Jurassic Park Kenner line, but this is from the later film Jurassic Park 3, a figure I've never seen before, so I had to grab it. Speaking of figures I've never seen before, Gremlins is one of my favourite movies, and I've never seen these bendy figs Gremlins figures. And I was tempted to pick up this entire set, as the seller said I could have all of these figures for £15 each or 40 quid for the lot. But it's a toy line I've never seen before. I had no idea if that was a good price, so I did pass, but definitely one I'm going to keep my eye on for in the future. Now, if you're a Star Wars fan, you need to make sure you hit up the next Norwich Vintage and Modern Toy Fair, as there was so much Star Wars stuff here. I could have made an entire video of just Star Wars merchandise, but I am quite picky once again when it comes to my Star Wars figures, so I did pass on most of these, much like I'm very picky with what pin badges I will pick up. But this one spoke to me because honestly, it's just incredible. Loads more WWF Hasbro figures here, but unfortunately, I can't seem to find my most wanted figure. The Series 5 Macho Man Randy Savage. I'm generally thinking about putting a hit out on that figure as I need it. But moving on, here we have some more TMNT Playmates vehicles. Now, these are one of my favourite parts of this toy line because some of these vehicles are absolutely incredible. But this is a strange one. When it comes to the vehicles, I'm mainly looking for these boxed because the artwork on these vehicles is absolutely incredible. But when it comes to figures, strangely, I am looking for these loose. And there were some really cool ones here once again. But again, I am picky. I'm mainly looking for these to be complete with their weapons, which for figures for the 80s is getting harder and harder to find. And more often than not, more expensive. Now, when it comes to toy collecting, there can be some toys with some high prices. Like that Joker was super expensive, and I think that Claptrap figure was £60. It's all about knowing what toys to buy when, as prices always fluctuate. I love to combine my loves, so I love video game based toys, and these Gears of War action figures are absolutely incredible, and they're surprisingly large scale for action figures, but it's very hard to find these complete with their accessories because every cog soldier needs their gun, and unfortunately no Lancers here. Much like TMNT, when it comes to many other retro toy lines, I just love the vehicles, and you can see here there's loads of Jurassic Park, Jurassic World and Aliens vehicles. I think it's just because these were the toys I could never afford from my childhood. The figures were normally a couple of pounds, but the vehicles were way more expensive. But more often than not, these were some of the coolest toys from these amazing toy lines. Whenever I go to a toy market or a gaming market, I'll always make one trip around the room before I decide on picking anything up. But so far, this was top of my list. This Ray Fillet with their accessories was very, very tempting, because since seeing Mutant Mayhem, Ray Fillet has just become one of my favourite characters. But we didn't realise how late in the day it was already. We'd been hunting for about an hour, but unbeknownst to us, the gaming market ended half an hour earlier than it had previously, and time was running out. But we were just hunting, and we had no idea we were on such a strict timeline. A really nice box of WWE figures here, some really cool ones, but much like many other toy lines, I'm very picky with the ones I pick up, so I'm looking for the ones that are Tron ready, that go with the Titantron Live playset, because I just love having the figures with their entrance music. We hadn't realised it yet then, but time was running out. We only had half an hour left to hunt. And here I am, hunting under the table, going through lucha masks, because I've never owned one of these. And honestly, how hilarious would it be to wear one of these for the Dan the Games Man podcast? I just think it would be absolutely incredible. So I said earlier we saw a lot of Star Wars merch, but this was one of the more random bits that I really liked. This Pit Droid alarm clock. There's just something about vintage alarm clocks I love, so I was very tempted by this one. Much like video game based toys, I love video game based board games. They just combine my love, and this was a bit of an odd one. Metal Gear Solid Risk. Now, I love Metal Gear Solid, I love Risk, but I'm not really sure if they'd work together as a board game. Pretty cool though. Recently, I've got closer and closer to the edge of a very precarious, slippery slope in VHS collecting. And this store had some very, very good VHS. Some of my favourite films from the early days of me watching films on VHS. We got Fight Club, Starship Troopers, Gremlins, some really, really good titles here. All films I probably shouldn't have watched at my age back then, but classics nonetheless. And these are the films I'm looking for on VHS, the must-have movies. Now, it's not very often you see video games at the toy market, but you do see them. But I cannot remember the last time I saw this many boxed, sealed Game Gear games. Now, I think these were all NTSC, which is the only reason I did pass on these. £8 each. They were very, very tempting. Going through a box here, because if I see a bin, I'm going to dig through it. Some very interesting things here. And embarrassingly, a few of us did play with a few of these Power Rangers guns for a embarrassingly long time. You know what they say, boys and their toys. We're still on the hunt for that elusive Macho Man figure, and while we have a different Randy here, it's just not the same. Much like Hulk Hogan. Now, I don't want to open a massive can of worms here, but I just don't know in this day and age if I can still pick up a Hogan figure. Back to the bins, and all the figures in here were free for £10. And we had some figures in here from a toy line which I've been tempted to collect for a very long while, Bucky O'Hare. But once again, like so many vintage action figures, these are very hard to find with the accessories. So I went back to looking for WWF Hasbro figures, and again, it's very hard to find these in very good condition. I just think the paint on these got scratched and rubbed off so easily, probably because these were played with very roughly, like I said earlier. But so many turtles in here as well, but I just couldn't make a decision. Speaking of decisions, my wife was trying to decide whether to pick up this Dragonlance game. Now, she's been reading a lot of the Dragonlance books recently, and we are big D&D fans, and of course big board game fans. And as soon as we opened this box up and unveiled this absolutely ginormous board, we knew this is a game we want to play. We are all about these large-scale board games, and I love miniatures. And check out all of these miniature Dragon Riders. This game looks super cool, and I'm very excited to play this one very, very soon. It just ticks all the boxes. Vintage board game, Dungeons and Dragons, miniatures, incredible artwork. We just had to have it. By this time, we had been hunting at the toy market for around 90 minutes, and we went outside for some fresh air and a well-needed refreshment break. But little did we know, the toy market actually ended half an hour earlier than it had previously, and it was slowly becoming a race against time. But I managed to grab this last-minute deal Ray Fillet figure for just £10. It was a last minute grab, but it closed off what had been an absolutely incredible day of toy hunting here at the Norwich Vintage and Modern Toy Fair. Here we are then, back in the games from an absolutely incredible Sunday morning at the Norwich Vintage and Modern Toy Fair. An absolute pleasure as always, and I really enjoy going later in the day as there's a lot more room and it's a lot more chilled hunting for toys, but you are against the clock and we very nearly missed out on picking up some awesome bits for the collection, but fear not, we still have some amazing items to add this time to my toy collection. Our first pickups this time come from a local seller, Second Chance Treasures, and they are absolutely smashing it at the moment. They're at car boots, toy markets, gaming markets, anywhere I seem to be, they are always there and they are always selling incredible items. And as soon as I saw this first item, I knew I had to grab it. It is this mask figure from the Jim Carrey film from 1997, and this thing is absolutely massive. I recently rewatched this movie and I still love it, and it's not very often you see action figures from this film, and while this one is missing some accessories, for just £3 I couldn't resist because it's just crazy. I love to find the weird and the wonderful, and this definitely falls into both those categories. It does have a kind of button here, and I think it makes some noise. It's very hard to tell, as I think the sound is just about gone. And the head kind of does pop up and down. As I said, it does come with some accessories normally, but I think I picked this up for like £3, and this is the kind of oddity I love finding at toy markets. Again, much like that mask figure, as soon as I saw Second Chance Treasures selling this item right here, I knew I needed it for the collection. Now, this is not a toy, it is a video game controller. It is this brand new and sealed WWE PS2 controller. And just look at the artwork on this one. This is absolutely incredible. It is an official WWE controller for the PS2, brand new and sealed. And as a gamer and of course a wrestling fan, as soon as I saw this, I knew I needed to have it. Now, Second Chance Treasures cut me a really good deal on this one, and honestly, I'm super happy to have this in the collection. And of course, this is never getting open. This is staying sealed and being displayed here in the games room. Our next pickups come from another local seller who owns a store in Kings Lynn, simply known as Retro. They sell exactly that. Everything retro. Toys, video games, music, DVDs, VHS, you name it, they sell it. And they were selling at the toy fair. They had some incredible items for sale. And the first item we got was actually a gift, as they watch the channel and know I'm a massive Steelbook fan. And they gifted me this copy of Company of Heroes 2 Red Star Edition. Now, this is a really nice Steelbook and one I haven't seen before. And this is in absolutely incredible condition, like really nice looking steelbook. You don't see many PC steelbooks, and this one is super duper nice, so thank you for this very thoughtful gift. And we also picked up some awesome retro toys for them. So first off, we have this vintage WWF Hasbro Sergeant Slaughter. This does kind of have the action of the slam with the arms, and yeah, I'm very late to the party collecting these, but I'm slowly picking these up when I can get them for the right price and for wrestlers I like. And our second pickup is quite possibly my favourite pickup of the day. Now, I'm a massive Jurassic Park fan, and I kind of dropped off collecting Jurassic Park toys back in the day around Jurassic Park 3, and this toy comes from the Jurassic Park 3 toy line. Now, the original toys for both the Jurassic Park and Lost World films were made by Kenner, but this is a toy from Jurassic Park 3, and this is made by Hasbro. Now, this is a Dilophosaurus. It does have resemblances to the original Kenner Dilophosaurus, but it just looks slightly different. And this is one I'd never seen before with this colour scheme. So I did a bit of research, and this was a Toys R Us exclusive figure. It has the action here where the arms just kind of flail, and if you put batteries in, it does make noise. But as a Jurassic Park fan, because I've never seen this before, I was very happy to be able to pick this up from Retro. We have one final pickup this time, which I grabbed last minute at the Toy Fair, simply because this is one of my favourite characters from the TMNT universe, mainly due to the Mutant Mayhem film. It is Ray Fillet. This is the re-release Super 7 figure, and I really like these reaction figures because for me, they just capture the essence of what the original figures both looked and felt like. These were the toys of my childhood, and I do enjoy reissues which just have the same feeling, because if you were to buy a brand new carded TMNT figure, you are talking lots and lots of money. And honestly, I get just as much enjoyment from this figure. This was just £10 and it brings me so much joy. And honestly, that is what collecting is about. Not how much you spend, but how much joy it brings you just inside. This gives me such nostalgia. I love it so much. You can tell by my smile. I'm super happy to have picked this up last minute at a Toy Fair. There we have it then, folks. That was the Norwich Vintage and Modern Toy Fair, and what an absolute pleasure it was as always. I'm already counting the days to the next one. We have about 2 months to go, but it's always a pleasure to go, and I'm so lucky to have such an amazing toy market right here on my doorstep. But you know me, I'm always travelling around the UK, whether it's toy markets or gaming markets, and who knows where you'll see me next. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe, and as always, keep playing the game. See you all soon.